You're back to the presidential inauguration, which took place earlier today, and some states also had new governors and even old ones taking the oath of office. Those who have been voted in for second term and the first term. Enugu State, which you see there, Peter Bola taking the oath of office as the governor of Enugu State earlier on today. What a scenario was for him as well, his first experience.
Indeed.
That's saddle.
I mean, from a PDP governor to another PDP governor in Enugu State, Peter Bola taking oath of office as a lawyer now in the saddle in the southeastern state.
And then to Kano. Wow, in Kano, it was interesting. It still is. I mean, yes, it was an APC state, but the NNPP, you'll remember, won that election. And so you see the governor taking the oath of office in Kano. It was a huge crowd. They somehow overcame the incident which took place there and then went on and took his oath of office.
Indeed. It looks to me like there was a family gathering. If you look at the picture, the area view of the swearing-in ceremony, most of those who gathered there were in the typical Kunkosia red hat, and to show support and solidarity to the incoming, now the new governor in Kano State.
See your heads.
Governor Kano handed over yesterday.
And then today, I think he was in Eagle Square earlier today. So that is kind of. But in Nasarawa State, the governor returns there for his second term in office after that keenly contested the election. So there he is taking his own oath of office, going to go ahead and wants to finish his second term, having been elected.
Abdullahi Sule, one of those who knew that race was not going to be easy, considering the first round of election, the presidential election, his party lost a few of the seats. But it was like a cat with 9 lives. He was lucky to get a re-election. It's now been sworn in for a second term in office. Yeah,
but it was equally interesting in Cross River State, because remember, they did say that the Cross River is a PDP state, but they had the situation, the APC vied for that office alongside the PDP, but the APC candidate eventually got the ticket because they had some issues where they wanted the pendulum to swing. But at the end of the day, these are the people who were there present today for the senator. Interestingly, was he surprised to have won? I don't think so.
Senator Otu was taking over from the very charismatic, some would say intellectually mobile, Professor Ben Ayade.
Famous for his budgetary, how he christened his budgets on a yearly basis.
He touches them in the most dramatic ways. Budget of charismatic and all those English that is used for it.
Lymphotic and etc. Very interesting.
Yeah, that Governor Otu taking his oath of office and his vice, the deputy governor there.
We also do have images from Gombe State. Gombe equally returning for a second term in office. He also had a battle because they only have one surviving senator, Senator Goje. All the others went to the PDP in the House of Reps and the Senate, but the governor returning for his second term.
And wearing the hat with the insignia of BAT.
This is the green one, isn't it?
No, is it a green one? Because I was surprised today. I was saying to you that Bola Tinubu changed the color of his hat for the first time. I'm seeing wearing the green.
It's a national one
color. Now he's a president.
So it's better together.
Absolutely.
Indicating that one. And then in Plateau State, there's a new governor in place there. The previous outgone governor, of course, finished his second term. He was with the APC. But the PDP governor in Plateau State is the one who got that ticket. So also looking to see how he could hit the ground running, particularly when it has to do with security, because they've had some recent incidents, as it were.
Governor Caleb Mutfuwang.
And incidentally, we also have Adamawa. Adamawa only concluded their elections not long ago.
The most dramatic governorship election in this cycle. There was a scare on the governor when the the resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State, by himself took to the podium and announced the result. But now, the former vice president, PDP candidate Atiku Abubakar, it's been colorful arena across the state. A replica of what we saw in Abuja.
So hoping that they will all do what they have promised the people that they will achieve in their various states. Let's get in our guest. We've got Professor Ibrahim Ado Abubakar, who is a security professional here in our studios in Lagos. Good evening, Prof. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good evening and welcome, everybody.
Well, we also have Bola Edwards. She joins us from our studios in Lagos. She's a child safety advocate. Good evening and thank you for joining us as well today on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Let me start with you today about that speech in terms of ensuring the president did speak about different things, ensuring the job security, having the youths at the back of his mind, ensuring that they have something to leverage on, that this government does provide something that they can latch onto. From this speech of the president that you heard, what were your first impressions, especially on the back of what has been going on in the country, and then this speech?
Thank you. Good question. Yes, I heard when the president-elect, I must say congratulations to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our new president. I heard him when he said that women and youth will be given key roles to play, and about 1 million jobs will be made available in a digital economy. For me, that's a very huge promise. And the question I'm asking is, how realistic is this? It's very doable if we have a solution-driven administration, as it were. But I'm also thinking in my head that, okay, our youth, they've heard this, and we've heard this before, and it sounds like a cliche. So I believe and hoping that the government will hit the ground running by making jobs available as promised for the youths. We want a situation where youth are involved in policy making, where the youth can come on board and be part of the growth of the economy. The National Bureau for Statistics last year, 2022, says that we have over 53% of unemployed youth. And out of this 53% makes up 151 million, of which 80 million are unemployed. For me, it's a staggering statistics. So where do we start from exactly? So really, it's a welcome speech, and I hope that they are true to their words. Thank you.
What do you want to see and how soon? Because when you talk about creating jobs, it's really not time-bound. Some different timeline for actualizing some of these things, and others may just think they expect the government to create the enabling environment upon which several other, maybe private sector, can leverage on and then make those jobs available. So for you, what practical steps or factors or items do you want to see?
I would like a situation where jobs are created, enabling environment first, because without the enabling environment, the youth cannot express the innate potentials that they have to exhibit. So if the environment is enabling, it's suitable, it's friendly, I believe that jobs will be more creative, and the youth can begin to leverage on that platform. I see most of the time, like we all see, that our Nigerian youth excel most times outside of Nigeria. Why so? Because the environment is enabling. So if you can create that, first and foremost, that should be done. And let's have more youths in all parastatals. Let's have them in the ministries whereby they are owning, they have the responsibility of making sure that they are doing the job and not just saying it over their heads. And Nigerian youths are not lazy, I can tell you. They have so much on the inside of them that they can bring to the fore. So I would employ the new administration to please bring them on board in everything that they need to do. As practical as it may be, let it be very relatable as well. Our youth are they're strong, they're dynamic, they're creative, they're very intellectual. So we would like for private organizations, the government, opened up policy whereby they can come in, bring them on board, speak to them, create the jobs, and they can also create more jobs as well.
Well, let's bring in Prof. here, Professor Ado Ibrahim. Security, definitely. It goes, without saying that anyone, and now we know someone is now the president anyway, so, but the president did say that security shall be the top priority of our administration because neither prosperity nor justice can prevail amidst insecurity and violence. If you were to advise the president today, although he mentioned it and he showed in his speech that he's going to take security seriously, since he said it's going to be a top priority, where would you like him to start from? To show that he wants to hit the ground running, because he said he's going to hit the ground running.
Thank you very much. To me, security is the basic of national development. Without security, we are not heading anywhere. But the basics, we have to start from the basics, because from time I have said that we have not built a security template. So let's go back and build a security template. This template starts with citizen and human rights security. Under citizen and human rights security, which people don't understand, has to do with our educational security, our food security, housing security, health and medical security. All these are formed under citizen and human rights security. My health is my security. If I'm not healthy today, I won't be here to speak. I need food. Everybody needs food. So we must have food security. People look at security from another dimension. These are the basics. Then we come to business and economic security. Just as I've said, and I've told the National Assembly during the last preliminary, and I told them that Nigeria can generate 50 trillion naira from security alone.
How?
And if the gap is given, then in the next 2 years, I am looking at this government plugging into business and economic security, generating enough. And if that can be done in the next 2 years, I can bet you by 2028, 2029, Nigeria should be generating over 100 trillion from security alone. We have underplayed this because a lot of our people were not trained professionally on security. So we look at security as arm carrying, going to look for who to arrest, who to enforcement, and the rest. We forget that there is security administration, there is management, and there is operations.
Are you saying every citizen has to be trained for security, or what does that mean?
Not every citizen. There are the professionals. There are people who are members of the service sector. In the service sector, if you go to some of our embassies, you'll see it as an eyesore, because most of the people coordinating these embassies are not even security granted. They don't even know what is there at home. They don't know the selling point. They don't know what to sell to foreigners who are coming to invest. Even in our economic security, a lot of people don't know that under economic security, we have investment security. You can do any business and you are investing your money and you don't know what is the investment security.
Yeah, let me jump in quickly. As citizens were listening to the new president, also the bandits and the insurgents might also be listening because they want to see his body language. There is now a new C&C that will now give martial orders to the military, and they will want to see how vehement or his style in fighting this kind of violence situation in the country. If you were President Tinubu right now, what would you do to send signal to these dissidents and these elements who are troubling our nation?
Well, as I normally say, the society actually builds most of the elements. Not because anybody wants to be criminal. Nobody has called his child, I want to make my child a thief, or I want my child to be a criminal. The society also because there is porosity. And this porosity are gaps that has been built over time. But good, the storyline now is that Security has gone beyond just human personas. Intelligent gathering has gone beyond just human intelligence. So we are going technological. And if we are going technological, then we have to have a strategy to map out this from one point to the other. Before you know it, Nigeria is an orderly country. The people are very orderly and organized people. And I trust that we can make Nigeria free of any form of criminality within 6 months to 1 year.
Well, I mean, would you, for example, retain the crop of top officials within the rank and file of the military or the security agencies in the country?
Good. That has been our problem all this while. It has been a problem that we have to actually look at objectively. Defense and military security is just a part of what we call protective security. So if you stand by and by with a military officer or as a defense officer, you find out that they know little or less about security as they compass national security objectives. They just know what is called defense and military operations, military securities. They have not been trained more than protective security. That's where we get it wrong. When we were being the colonial master hand over to us and trained our people, they trained our officers on protective security. But protective security is the 8th chapter of security. It's not the beginning. We have security men who don't even know what to do, but they are also trained on protective security. The policeman don't even know what is supposed to be the police network. So you send him on a process that he don't have idea about. These are the problems we are having on security.
All right, Bola Edwards, let's take this back to you in Lagos. And that bit where you spoke about the job creation, what you expect to see, I'm just wondering if you've interacted with young people probably around you, what their impression is about this speech, this looking forward to this job creation component, because we know it's a global village. We know talent competes across the world. Almost, if they have the same kind of infrastructure, they will excel from wherever they are.
Yeah.
Can you give us a sense, if you have spoken to any one of them, what you gleaned from them in terms of their expectations about this bit of job creation and then this bill that will be sent to the National Assembly for jobs?
Thank you, Chamberlain. Yes, I've always had the opportunity to be around the youth. I speak to them all of the time. And I must say for a fact that they just took this as the tip of a finger. They want to see action. It will take a lot of conviction for them to begin to believe in the new administration. For youth that have been at home for 10 years, or say 5 to about 8 years without a job, it's very difficult for that youth to believe that, oh, come tomorrow morning or next month, jobs will be made available, because they've heard this before, and it will take a lot of convincing, like I said. But all said and done, like I said initially, that we need to reduce the numbers. The numbers are staggering for most of these youths. Between last year, 2022, and now, as we speak, most of our youths, more than 50%, have jackpot, like they say in local parlance. They have traveled to look for greener pastures somewhere else. These are youths that should be growing our economy, should be adding to the economy, to the growth and the GDP. And here we are struggling with the few ones that are left here. And the question going on in their mind is, what does this administration have for them? So really, it hasn't really changed from what I've heard from them so far. it hasn't changed. They have not really had that belief and conviction that the administration is going to make a difference in job creation. But we look forward to new policy. Of course, the bill has been passed. We hope that the administration will hit the ground running so that our youths can begin to flourish like they should. Any economy or country that invests in the youth, I tell you, I started building the economy already, as it were. So if Nigeria must grow, if Nigeria must change, then we must invest in our youth. Thank you.
I mean, I imagine that one of the campaign promises of President Tinubu is the possibility of making arrangement for loans, student loans. Yeah. I mean, this is something that is applicable in some other climes, not very popular here in Nigeria. In fact, you find sometimes that people they've worked for 10 years and they're still paying back their student loans. Yeah. How do you perceive this? Perhaps something that it may be a cultural shock to our education system in Nigeria. How far-reaching would this idea be? Is it something that is sustainable?
I believe it's very sustainable. I mean, in most other developing or developed climes where student loans are being given, I mean, it's subsidized, it gives that soft landing for any student that is in school. But if this is introduced in Nigeria, I can assure you that a lot more children, a lot more youths will be educated, and paying school fees won't be so difficult as it is already. I remember when we were in school, I mean, we didn't have student loans, but school fees wasn't as expensive as it is right now. But if the student loan is being introduced, I can assure you that it will give a lot of soft landing for a lot of students. Nigeria is a place where we can make the laws, but implementing them can also be a difficult one. I look forward to this administration implementing this so that more youth can be educated and they can pay back the school loans, well spread over years, and they can even be working and they're still paying back their school loans like it's done all over the world. So really, it's a welcome development. If this is introduced to our school, I believe that more youths would like to go to school, as it were, and not want to go into Yahoo.
I mean, I imagine that UK alone gave visa to Nigerians. About 35,000 Nigerians got education-related visa to the United Kingdom, and they had another 33 or 34,000, 36,000, I can't remember, but it was way over 30,000 dependents that went with those who got the visa. And this caused a bit of a stir for the UK government, and there are those who have opposed that move of having so much dependent for those who are getting education visa. If you look at schools like Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, and in fact several other schools, even in the United States, you see a host of schools that are admitting Nigerians, and there's a lot of money. In the UK, there's a lot of money that comes into that system through education system. And I was jokingly making reference to the education sector in Nigeria earlier when some of my colleagues are mouthing how great their school, Unilag, let me call them out. Chamberlain is one of them. How great their school. I'm wondering if anyone will make reference to how intelligent a student is. Sometimes when someone says, I finished from Harvard, and easily you could say, oh, this must be an intelligent person. I finished from Cambridge or Oxford, and you could say, this is a brilliant chap. Are there schools like that in Nigeria? I know from the school I finished from University of Ilorin, easily when you say you graduated from that school, easily people will say, oh, fantastic, you must be a bright person. So, it comes to something. The education sector and the quality of education in Nigeria, funding, quality of education. A lot of our lecturers are also looking for the best opportunity to get out of the country.
Absolutely.
What can we do to fix these issues?
You see, it's almost like a pandemic that it's eaten deep like cancer into our skin in this part of the world in Nigeria. if the education system, and I didn't hear anything about education during the speech. I don't know, maybe I didn't hear that part. Education, so far education is not prioritized, we would continue to have this issue and problem and challenges of our youth looking for better education outside of Nigeria. You know, you mentioned that over 30,000 Nigerians have been given admission into the UK. And have you ever asked yourself the question that, can they really afford this? Because it's not cheap money. It's expensive. So many of them would have to sell things to make sure that they pay that money. That most of them they're not sponsored. So if they have such money here back home, I'm sure they would do better. But having to travel over there and spending so much, I think it's a strain on everyone, including the economy itself. So really, we have schools here. I went to the University of Lagos, and I think it has produced best of us here.
Oh, dear.
Yes, thank you, Chamberlain.
Is it economic to go to University of Lagos? You folks who finished from University of Lagos. I mean, it was difficult getting admission to University of Ilorin, I guess.
You know, even University of Lagos, it wasn't like it was so easy to get in there. I know University of Ilorin was quite tough as well. Competition was very tough among those schools. But I tell you, we went to those schools. We're so proud to be part of that alma mater. And really, it's not about you schooling in Harvard or schooling in Howard University. It's about what the school has made of you, really. So, I mean, in Nigeria, I must say that if education is given more priority and we are giving more importance to education, a lot of our youth out there are traveling out, making us proud, bringing us honors, topping the class. We can also do better here. And we're doing so, given that enabling environment. So really, the government, the new administration should please put more priority on this, importance on education, and hit the ground running. Thank you.
Okay, so, yeah, thank you. So Prof, when you speak about security...
from Unilag, you're not lecturing from Unilag.
No, he didn't.
These Unilag folks. All right.
Well, Prof, speaking about security, the first set of people most people in this country interact with is police. And we know that the National Assembly passed the Police Act. We know we've spoken about community policing. Different people, different regions have one form of policing or the other in different ways. Yet, we're still talking about us rejigging the police force. What do we have to do? What would you advise this government to do? Because don't forget, they have advocated that, look, you have to have some sort of security that people can relate with. So that, in fact, to put it simply, state police. How do you think we should approach this?
Very good. When we are talking of the policing network, we started in error when you say community policing. Community is a very wide area of policing. We are supposed to start with grassroots policing and move over to neighborhood policing. Then we come to community policing, then state policing, then national policing, then global policing. Then after global policing, we have in the network policing the police. Now, who police the police? We didn't even start with grassroots policing. So we have not profiled anybody. We are rushing to community policing. If I call the DPO here and tell me who is your next door neighbor, he don't know him. And you are talking of community policing. So we have been doing everything in error. And we want results. You can get errors. You can get results from errors.
How do we correct it?
We have to go back. That is why I said we have to build a template. This is a country be propelled by the Constitution, the Penal Code, the Criminal Code. Nobody has talked of security laws. Nobody in the assembly knows about security, not to talk of saying let's enact a law, a security law.
But we do have and have had men in the state service, the police, the army, they've all gone through the National Assembly. Some are even there at the moment.
If you have a half-baked person coming to represent who?
How do you mean half-baked?
The security knowledge was not given to us. I told you here, the colonial master never wanted us to have stability. If you want to look at it very well.
Still blaming colonial masters?
Yeah, I still blame
How many years after they left our shores?
I did a master program in the University of Düsseldorf.
That's in Denmark?
In Germany.
In Germany, yeah.
Yeah. In the University of Düsseldorf in Helsinki, most of the students goes for practicals when some of us were foreigners are relegated to the background.
Why?
Because you are a foreigner. They must not teach you the technology their children has to acquire. Technology is stolen.
Despite you paying school fees and everything?
Yes, technology is stolen. It's not transferred.
Did you steal anyone from that?
I did a lot.
See, theft is criminal. You're now
when you say technology, we're talking about technology. Anybody who is looking at itself and saying that technology is transferable, it's not transferable, it's stolen.
Or grabbed, maybe, rather than using.
You call it grab, whether you call it grab or whatever name you call it, it is stolen. It's all over the world. Most of us has a problem. If I asked anybody now, where did the FM broadcasting frequency come from? We were having shortwave and medium wave radios. But FM came from somewhere. Did you know how much those who painted FM makes from FM alone? They make over 50 billion. Where did it come from? It came from Damien Ayahu, who graduated from Unsuka and was broadcasting in 1978 on FM. Nigerian government neglected him till the Japanese took him away. So what are we talking about? Where did the America have yam? No. The powder yam machine was actually an invention from University of Ife. Today, America has the patent right. If you want to do anything about pounded yam, you have to go back to America. Do they have yam? So we are losing a lot.
But where would you suggest we start from, though?
That is why I said we have to go back to build a template. A lot of time I listen to my colleagues in the security agencies. You just see them telling me about security architecture. How you have no template? It's just like somebody who has no land is talking of building a house. How did you build a house? We don't have a template. So we have to go back and build a template which suit us.
What does building a template entail?
It entails a lot. What do we need? What are we going through? What are we against? What do we get out of? What has actually bring us to where we are? What was it before now? It's just like we're looking at the Nigerian university, we're talking of the education system now. From 1972 to 1987, 5 Nigerian universities were among the best 25 universities in the world. Today, where are we? Ife, Lagos, Ibadan, Usuka, ABU. We are among the best 25 universities in the world. From 72 to 1987. So what went wrong? So we have to look at these developments.
Right. Would you then be suggesting something like a national security roundtable to develop a national security policy roadmap to fight insecurity?
The first thing I expect from the president is not whether you appoint the national security advisors or the chief of defense and the service chiefs. No. Let him appoint a presidential advisor on security who can interface with him and tell him what security is all about. Then bring all agencies, security agencies, together and build a template Some of them don't have any synergy.
What will the NSA be doing then?
The NSA we have, the National Security Advisor is not a security coordinator. He's just a National Security Advisor.
From the point of law,
so he's supposed to be a security coordinator.
Yeah, that's what the law says.
So that is what we want.
So that's already provided by the law then?
If it is provided by the law, is he doing it? Because I can see all the National Security Advisors I've seen goes with a convoy of about 15, 20, 100 cars, vehicles.
100 cars, Prof.
Let's put it, I can't exaggerate, but then
100 cars is a lot.
15, 20, what for? Are you a security coordinator?
Well, let me go to Lagos. I mean, Bola, I think we're winding down on this now. I know that there wasn't any specific mention about child rights, anything. I mean, you are an advocate of that. So because, I mean, they couldn't possibly mention every bit of everything that needs to be addressed. What would you like to see? Because that argument about domesticating certain child rights acts in different states, even some lawyers question, what's the point of domesticating it if the law provides for it? It provides for it plain and simple. What should be done in this regard?
Thank you. I would refer to the Child Rights Act 2017 that's just been reviewed. And in that review document, we have all the rights of a child. And only 26 states in Nigeria, to shock you, are signed. And I'm wondering, what are the others still doing? Domestication of this Child Rights Act is very important. That way, each state can begin to implement the laws and pass on the bills, sponsor them, and just make a better place for the children and safer for them. I look at Lagos State, for example. I know they're very big on the Child Rights Act. They do not joke with it. And domesticating it has really helped in implementing some of those laws, especially the ones that had to do with children who are abused, children who are molested, and all sorts. They do have their day in court, and they are given the appropriate punishments. So I think it's a big deal for every state to domesticate the Child Rights Law Act. That way, the offenses can reduce to a minimal level, if not totally eradicated, because you will still have children being abused every now and then, but it can be reduced. And for us to also put ourselves on the global global world where the Sustainable Development Goals also support this, that the well-being of the children, the Section 2 of it says that the well-being of the children is very key. I would believe that an economy or a country who wants to grow and wants to put themselves in a good light should tap into that and work hand in hand with the stakeholders just to make sure that children are not cut off in their prime and they can fulfill destiny. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so as a way to wrap up now, just a minute apiece, Bola Watts and Prof, let me come to you first. It's been a long day for a lot of Nigerians and listening to the president, the new president. What would be that thing that you think that Nigerians should hope for in this new government, considering the state of affairs in the country right now?
The very first thing I would hope for is I need for the new administration to call a stakeholders meeting, not just meeting and talking, but making actionable, what will I call it now? Actionable presentations out there. Not things that they would say and not do. We are looking forward to a situation where everybody, all hands are on deck, everybody in all parastatal, children, adults, governments, everyone, all hands on deck, can come together and begin to foster and bring to light all those things that the president has just mentioned. And I would expect that there's an open door policy. Nothing is done in secrecy. Let's bring this thing all out. Let people come out to also say what they feel should be done, and you can take on people's perceptions, comments, suggestions, and run with them.
All right, Prof.
Thank you.
Your final thought.
Well, I would say, first of all, that security still remains the main arm of any government, whether transiting or ongoing. And I want a situation where our security challenges will be nipped to the bud. While everybody is free, everybody should see it as the nation is stabilized, just as I could come home before and drive from 12 midnight and I'm moving towards Kano, and I get to Kano without any hitch. I shouldn't be afraid of going to Kaduna because it's getting late or something, or some kind of attack will happen on the way. I should look at everybody and be able to have my peace of mind, trust, and also carry on with a lot of confidence, believing that Nigeria belongs to all of us, not to some group of people, but to everybody, and we carry everybody along. Security is the most simplest thing, so I'm looking at safety first, and also looking at maybe the new government also generating a lot of funds from security. That is a part of security that they never wanted a black man to know about.
All right. Well,
Yes. Nothing wrong in sending people to go steal technology.
stealing is a crime, so you don't want to be caught.
Well, he paid school fees. So in that regard, he impressed the system. Well, we thank both of you for coming on. First is Bola Edwards, child rights, child safety advocate, as well as Professor Ibrahim Ado Abubakar, security professional. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Inauguration, the presidential inauguration here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It's been a day, Chamberlain.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, the journey begins. It's the very first day and counting. Tomorrow, the president will be counting the second day in office. Nigerians are watching and waiting. And he says he's going to hit the ground running.
So when he wakes up in the villa, he needs to remember that the markets, the streets are already reacting to the fuel price commentary he made, because the laws already put that in place, but he just re-emphasized it and people just grabbed it and said, well, he is the one who's done it. Well, the buck stopped at his table anyway.
Absolutely.
So,
and the fact, look, I mean, he now needs to now get used to a regiment of activities now, because he wakes up, maybe before he wakes up at the time that he likes, and the political associates are waiting for him at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. in the day. That's when he gets his day started, if that is the case. But it can't be the case now. Officially, he's got to get to the office of the president and attend to the affairs of state, which is very important. That tomorrow, he may have some aches in his body because of the activities of the inauguration, but I guess by the time he gets into the office and see the loads and loads of files that he needs to treat and the issues and the burdens of Nigerians that he needs to carry, and that title of president will begin to make sense.
But we will remember that he says, I sought for this. I have no excuses. So on that, we will stand. We do thank you all for watching the presidential inauguration. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain. So goodbye.
And I'm Sean Akimale. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.